Senator Cáit Keane, you have 6 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed. And welcome, Minister. This is a very important debate that we're having today, and I'm delighted to be able to contribute to it. Senator Tony Mulcahy is our energy spokesman. He's unavoidably delayed. And I welcome the opportunity to speak and to remind all the senators in the House that this Senate is playing its part as well in inviting an international conference here to Dublin Castle on wind energy, renewable energy on the 21st, 22nd of June. And so we will get a further opportunity to discuss it there with all the various interests from MEPs right across Europe, along with our own Minister Rabbit as guest speaker. Today we're focusing on the wind energy, and it's more on the planning side of it. But I think in the context of the generality of things, you have to concentrate on why we need wind energy and why we need good guidelines and regulations to ensure that what we put in place ensures outcomes and results. Reducing our dependency on fossil fuel imports, ensuring investment in the network and delivering investor certainty through predictable, responsive regulatory policy, and it has to be responsive to the needs of the community and to the needs of the commercial people out there who are actually going to put money in to put those things on the ground. We all know that energy-related emissions accounted for almost 80% of the EU's total greenhouse gas emissions. The vast majority of the energy consumed on the island of Ireland at the moment, around 90% of it is imported, and that's an awful lot of our energy coming in, and we're highly dependent. Translated into cash terms, that's around 7 billion every year, or if you prefer to say, look at it, that's close to 1 million leaving the shores of Ireland every hour on what we're looking for. And so if we're targeting self-sufficiency in renewable energy and a reduction in greenhouse gas, we have to be mindful of we have to put regulations in place to ensure that we are and we can build towards self-sufficiency. And the government strategy, renewable energy strategy launched in May 2012, outlines 36 specific recommendations on how, I'm not going to go through them, but they're listed there, and they have to be welcomed. But as I said, in terms of the 2020 renewable energy target, we are 630 megawatts at the moment, just behind, but in the 2020 renewable energy electricity targets are to be achieved, because we must achieve them. We don't have a way out, because we'll pay dearly if we don't. Non-achievement will result in compliance costs and emissions permit having to be purchased. So all of those things we as legislators have to take into consideration. The Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland has estimated that these could amount to around 100 million to 150 million per annum if we don't reach our targets. So we have to ensure that we look at a balanced side of the view here, both on wind production, on economic development, on jobs, the jobs for the local community. But most important, what our discussion is today is about regulations to ensure that when wind turbines are put in place, that they're put in place and that the needs of the local community are taken into consideration. You are, Minister, as you have outlined there, a review of the 2006 Department Wind Energy Development Guidelines. This review must consider that Ireland continues to meet its renewable energy target, while at the same time that wind energy does not have a negative impact on local communities. I am all in favour of renewable energy and wind farms, but I am also conscious of the need of local communities. Therefore, I wish, Minister, to ensure that in consultation, local democracy and the whole lot, and I know you've outlined it there in your speech, how you're going about the public consultation guidelines. And maybe just a further question on that as well, on the timetable for publication of draft guidelines. I know the last question I read somewhere is Q3 or Q4 of 2013, maybe a date on that. I understand that there was a 2-week period consultation in February of this year in respect of energy guidelines, and I do think all of the newer issues and the new technology and the new research that is going there on noise pollution, and a major debate on this is taking place at the moment, both in the Midlands and Donegal and right across the west of Ireland, all where we have high producing wind energy. And our wind capacity is fourfold what it is in Germany. So we have on tap there. So we have to ensure that we avail of it, but we also have to ensure that we allay the fears of local residents and put regulations and statutory, I know, Minister, their guidelines is one thing and statutory guidelines and regulations are another. another thing. When mobile phone masts came in to being first, I was on South Dublin County Council, and we had the exact same debate about regulations and guidelines, and there was only guidelines, and they were walked over with a horse and carriage through them. There was absolutely no notice taken sometimes of them. So sometimes guidelines aren't worth the paper they're written on. What I did in South Dublin County Council, and it wasn't maybe fashionable at the time, but had it written into the development plan that there should be a mandatory distance of, I started off at 300 metres, but found that you'd end up without a telephone in South Dublin if you took 300 metres in an urban area. So we have to be careful of regulatory guidelines, that they actually don't hinder development without no good cause for the residents. What we ended up with was 100 metres statutory written into our development plan. So maybe looking at it in different areas to say, because a wind turbine situated in one area mightn't be the same or have the same noise effect level as a wind turbine situated in another area. So, Minister, the experts are out there. You're awaiting a report on this, as I know information deficit at the moment, I suppose, gives rise to unnecessary concern among some communities, and very huge concern among other communities, because they don't want to wake up in the morning and find a mast at their back door. They want to be assured, if they're buying a house in A, B or C, that tomorrow they can't, the regulations, whatever, are going to be interpreted by a planner in a different methodology.
Senator, you'll have to conclude.
And I want to congratulate Senator Kelly for bringing a bill here into the Seanad. That's what the Seanad can be used for, is used, and he has used it well. And I'll finish on that and let him take it over.